Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Phoenix Club.
Yay.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Phoenix Pod.
It's the Phoenix Pod. Turn right into paradise.
Oh, you can always rely on Lewis for the most epic of intros.
Hey,
I really hope you do that for your job one day, Lewis. You set up a sign that when people drive past, it's like you're stood there going, "Come on, come in."
you just see me like at the actual club, and he's just got his own little kiosk, and there's quick,
come on,
gives a
come
quiz.
on, quick, come on, come on in.
Give us 20p.
boy.
You can have a penny chew.
Well, Subway, I think the first question to ask is, how's it doing?
We're doing fine.
He's doing fine.
Oh dear, it never
Hey.
gets old.
It never does.
So yes, welcome to episode 6 of the Phoenix Pod. I'm of course your host AXC, joined once again by a man who is wearing nothing at all.
Nothing
Like
at all.
feel like
Nothing
wearing-
at all.
Oh.
Yeah, stupid sexy Flinders.
He's also half a man. Fuck you. But yes, it feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. But to be honest with you, the temperature today, I'll probably benefit from wearing nothing at all at this moment in time. Let's just say I'm not exactly the skinniest gentleman, and yeah, I don't do summer. I just don't do summer. Like when we went to the Metallica gig last year, it was almost like heaven. The fact that it rained.
Well,
You're probably one of the few men there as well in pants.
Yes, I was one of the few men in there with pants on. Yes.
Well, I always remember when I went to a wrestling gig a couple of years ago, and it was in Altrincham around this time, and it took place in a building which ultimately deals in sort of like ice hockey,
Nice.
and the building had no air conditioning whatsoever, and yeah, we just pretty much sort of like boiled. Probably didn't help as well that I was wearing an NFL jersey at the time, so hey ho.
Yeah. It's like when we used to attend shows in a certain basement. But, yeah, it was a sweaty mess. It always was.
Oh yeah, particularly if the show went over 3 hours.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yes, we're up to episode 6, which is I believe titled Talent Trek.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Uh-huh.
is.
Are you forgetting to introduce someone else?
Oh shit, yeah.
Just the man that gives you your intro.
Yeah, just the man that gives me my intros. Of course, the other voice you can hear from the RID podcast, it's Lewis Ogden.
It's a cracking little pod, this, isn't it? Oh, aye. A cracking little pod. Long live the Phoenix Pod.
Oh God! I think
I'll cheers to that, bastards.
I think you might have pissed Lewis off, and next time he comes round to your house, he might chuck a cigar in one of your bins.
Absolutely not. It's
Fine,
two drags of a ciggy and the nicotine hits me straight away, mate, so...
It's fine, I'll offer him a vase of whiskey.
Hey, to be honest with you, Paul's got Max covered with the Pakistani cricket top that he's ordering.
I will be ordering that.
Just say the word, and I'll track down the wheelchair, tweed suit.
And the little boy, the charity box thing.
Just melt his face a little bit. Oh, for fuck's sake!
So yes, it's the Talent Trek finals tonight down at the Phoenix Club. Jerry's got some good news, or does he?
Well, he comes out skipping.
Essentially, Tensions boil over when Brian has to hire Right Said Fred tribute band, Right Said Frank, since Les Alanos are doing the Karate Kid the musical.
Oh God.
So yes, we open the episode. We've got Opus 1 by Tommy Dorsey playing. Jerry throws open a double set of doors and walks down the street with a gleeful stride.
Absolutely. Which we'll find out. Well, you can put two and two together if you've been watching the show along with us. You kind of get the idea of why you might be so happy. And all I can describe it is he ends up basically doing one of the tenor adverts or whatever it is, body form, because he starts, running, skipping down the street and then scoring a bullet header, jumpers for goalposts and all that lot.
Well, I was going to say with this this bit where Jerry runs onto the field and there's a couple of lads having a kick about with a couple of traffic cones set up for a goal.
Oh, yes.
I just had in my notes that Jerry's more an accomplished finisher than John Smith ever was.
Have it.
Which is a nice little callback.
Absolutely. Absolute genius, and I applaud you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
That's a nice little obscure late 90s reference for you there.
So then Jerry's skipping off up the street, and they cut to Brian who pats the money box on the head of its labels here, disabled money box on the head, along with the line, "Ho ho ho, Corfu for Christmas." It's like, is he just using that as his personal little money box, like?
Holiday fun.
It is Brian Potter. You wouldn't put it past him, would you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like.
Oh no, we've all known those types of business owners that kind of like, oh, charity Tim, shake, 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 shake.
So yeah, we've got the bit we just mentioned about Jerry playing football. He headers a ball that we leave a dirt mark on his forehead.
That's there for.
Which stays for the first half of the episode.
Yes.
We cut to a big band. There's a big band practicing in the Pennine Street, where Brian wheels through and sits enjoying the music.
And then there'll be like a conductor. He's like, "Oh yes," sort of thing, like the Churchill dog.
There's a full on, "Hey, that's what I want. Fantastic that. must be first to work. That bar's open next door." But then he
turns around and sort of like there's the imprint of just sort of like where a certain machine used to be, and I'd like to call back to the sort of like the Phoenix Night TikToks that started coming up from the past few weeks. Roses are red. I know a robber called Ron. Bloody hell, where's my fruit machine gone?
Well, there's also a very uncharacteristic line from Potter here beforehand where he says, "The bar's open next door. If you want to have a drink, go and help yourselves. Be my guest."
Yeah, he's actually being generous, which shows he does have a bit of a generous side. It takes a lot, but he's got a generous side.
So then we cut to the opening credits. Dun 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 dun.
He's still very, very, very close to going into Inspector Gadget there. Very close.
I bet they probably sat there and watched Inspector Gadget, like the movie or whatever, and probably went, "We need a theme." And they sort of go, "So does that sound like Inspector Gadget?" Like, "Oh, no, no one will ever check."
Yeah, just play it on the xylophone. No one will ever know.
They should have gone like full Jimmy Hart from like the WCW and just like done it in like a different tuning or something?
Yeah,
or made it where it sounds vaguely like it, but not.
Or like in a different key.
Yeah. You just change the pitch, no one will notice.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're in the Jockey Will Suite Armchair Superstore TV on the big screen.
Oh yeah.
The first presenter, then you spray on the affected area. Wow. Brian switches it off.
We were talking about DVD extras, weren't we? I think last week, and I don't know if it was on air or not. If I remember correctly, it was on air. And if you can get the first season one of the extras on this disc is a whole 10 minutes of the Armchair Superstore. And the first thing that's on this is this hair product. But they go into so much more detail. And they say that the visor is there to prevent permanent blindness.
Well. Yeah, we have Holy Mary who chimes in with, I was enjoying that, as Potter switches it off.
Oh, God.
To which she then says, well, enjoy this even more. I have a special announcement to make. After hours of tremendous pressure and you hear a toilet flush, and some bloke just walks out the bog.
Yeah.
Then he follows it up with, listen, Tony, tremendous pressure and ruthless negotiation. I'm proud to announce we got talent trek.
Yay!
The grand final.
Yay!
Which then Holy Mary chanting with Hallelujah, praise the Lord, and
Praise
Brian Potter. With me, that got it.
Oh, God. But he's just like, I don't know if it's a bit of conversation before, but I do remember to say, spread the word, the Phoenix is rising.
Oh, that's just after this bit. It's like, when is it? Thursday. He's like, Thursday. It's 2 days away. But then we've got another Potterism, which is we've got to grab the cow by the horns and pull together.
We need to get shit shaped.
Yeah, shit shape, he says. Yeah. We need to get shit shape.
So
But everyone just takes it on board. He's like, yeah, we won't correct him.
We see the internal workings of a theatre along with Brian's office, and we've got Les Alanos in the theatre doing some painting and that. And forget Les's mobile rings. Hello. There's the back and forth, which is great news. We've got talent track. You're joking when? Just now. But it's like, no, when is it? It's like Thursday. We can't do Thursday, Brian. We've got the big show.
Karate Kid the musical.
Fuck's sake.
Oh.
If you think the idea, by the way, of the Karate Kid musical is fucking absurd.
Yeah.
And then you see parts of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's more absurd than I could have possibly even imagined.
We'll get to that because there's something I picked up on, which is quite a feat that Les achieves later on. But yeah, so we can't let him down this, Brian. We'll be like, for months, can we not do it next week? And Brian sort of fobbing him off, going, yeah. Of course I can do it next week. I'll give him a ring. We followed up with, can we balls, man? They're not going to shift the grand final so you can frig about with a kimono down the church hall.
Oh, fuck's sake. Yeah.
But then we have Les just was like, we can't do it. So Brian's like, well, sorry, Les, this is the... Right. Well, I know where I stand. I think I'm going to give Frank a ring.
Well, you can't do that.
Why? Well, they were busy. Right, so Fred tribute back.
Oh, God.
Anyway, if the good lads, if they can have the job, what job? Yours and Alan's, you're sacked. And of course, we're going to lead to another Potterism, which is Brian slamming the phone down in a shithead.
The big payoff insult when they can't hear it. The Brianism.
Oh, it's a full-on Potterism, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Potterism even, yes. Yes, Potterism, not Brianism, Potterism.
So then we're in the car park with Max and Ravon working on the internals.
Oh, yes. This was my ringtone in like the early 2000s at one point.
What comes up?
Yes.
Well, there's a whole back and forth, and then Paddy pulls up. So Max reiterates, "Good morning, Patrick. Wet enough for you?" But it's never wet enough for me, Max.
Bit of trivia, by the way, just so you know that car he turns up in, the Ford Escort XR3i?
Yeah.
That was Paddy's actual own car.
Oh, okay.
And he mentions it on the latest episode of series of Top Gear. Because he's a bit of a lover of Escorts. Now, he's bought a couple of Ford Escorts on the show. And he does mention about having a black Ford Escort XR3i not long after he passed his test. Now, bearing in mind, you've got to realise how young Paddy was in this.
Incredibly young.
When we first started talking about doing this, to be fair, I was toying with the idea of like watching an episode, but making notes and then going through and rewatching the episode with commentary to see if there's any like notes like that I picked up on. But I was like thinking, I've got to watch it twice then. It's just gonna be a ball ache.
Yeah.
But that's just something I learned because I watch Top Gear I love, and yeah, it went shit when Clarkson went away, and then they had this like sort of transitional period, and then they seem to have settled with Flintoff and Paddy McGuinness and Chris Harris on there, and it's basically the same chemistry as the old Top Gear that was great. It's that good, and Paddy's talking about having escorts, there's Ford Escorts and things like that, and when I saw that and it rolled up and parked up, and I was like, oh my god, that's the Escort he was talking about.
The only sort of like, well, not the only stuff that I know about Paddy McGuinness, because like I've watched bits and pieces of that sort of like the new Top Gear. But he was one of the very first guests on Jamie Carragher's podcast, and one of the stories that he tells is of I think it's like a playoff final that Bolton Wanderers are in, and I distinctly remember him going on sort of like this playoff game in sort of like a party with the likes of Dermot O'Leary and Ant Deck. It's quite interesting that it's sort of like, you know, well, it's a good listen. It's a good listen if you're a Paddy McGuinness fan. I'd recommend. I think it's like episode 2 of the Jamie Carragher podcast because he's incredibly funny on it.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can recommend also while we're talking about Paddy McGuinness and like plugging his stuff. I mean, I think he's done one stand-up show, and I'd highly recommend that.
I think he's had a couple of DVDs out, but I remember one of them came out and it got absolutely panned by critics and people who bought it. Basically saying like full on like it's a whole thing of like it's not funny, it's overpriced and all this sort of thing. So
I remember there's an extra from Peter Kay's like latest stand-up gig, and he's got sort of like a flyer for like it's the Take Me Out tour. You know, there's that Paddy McGuinness is obviously on, and he tells the story of how it's like it's probably around about the time that Phoenix Nights is being filmed, and you know, Peter Kay sort of like gets like a little ding on his motor, so he goes to pick up Paddy from the gym, and I can't remember what car he's driving. It might be a variation on sort of like a Ford Cosworth or whatever. But as he's pulling up, Peter Kay, who isn't paying attention on the road, accidentally sort of like sideswipes the entirety of sort of like one side of Paddy McGuinness's car. So
Jesus.
So the thing is, it's really funny because when Paddy McGuinness comes out and he sees sort of like the damage, he goes to Peter Kay. So what was it you were sort of like wanting to talk to me about? And he's just sort of like, I didn't really have the heart to sort of come up to him and say, well, I've got this little ding in my particular motor. Do you think you can help? Do you know anyone that would be able to sort out for me? It's along those lines. It's on YouTube somewhere. I'll search it down and then I'll put it in our little podcasting group chat.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing that.
Well, back to the episode. So we've got Ray working on an alarm system.
Inside Max's car.
Into Max's car, yeah. So Paddy's like, "What are you doing?" He says, "We're fitting an alarm." And Ray Vonda said, "We?"
We?
He's like, "Yes, we."
Max is there, just sort of, he's looking in on Paddy's like passenger seat, is sort of like, "Oh, there's a box there. What's that? Is it a gift for Mary?" And Paddy's like, "No, it's not a gift for Mary." So, to be honest,
there's a bit where he taps his nose, and Max just goes, "Cocaine."
Like, no, not cocaine. It's not for Mary either. Sort of, Paddy goes, "To tell you the truth, I'm thinking of sort of like cooling off on her." I was like, "Why?" I was like, "Oh, Paddy likes to play the field." Like, Paddy likes to play the field.
He likes to put a few in the back of the net.
Paddy likes to play the field, you know.
Have a kick about, put a few in the net.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, 2 words, Paddy, own goal. But we also, at this point, there's one point we have young Kenny who comes out saying, "Hey lads, spread the word. The Phoenix is rising."
Yeah, the Phoenix is rising. He walks off with his arms in the air. The Phoenix is rising.
But then Jerry comes skipping and dancing past, and Paddy just says,
"Woohoo!"
Paddy just, "What's everybody on today?" So then we're back in the Phoenix. We're in Brian's office. Jerry like bursts in, like you still see the football dirt mark.
Yeah. Big mud patch on his top of his forehead.
But they both like, start laughing, and he's like, "Come on, come here!" Kisses him on the head. He's, "Get off me, you girl!" But then it's a whole, "Oh, you've heard then?" "Yeah, I've heard." "Yeah, and?" "Irritable bowel syndrome, spasms." So then there's a whole back and forth of, where is it? So you're all clear, yeah. Who we told? I haven't told anybody. Breathe it in, Brian. Breathe it with me. It's like having a new life. It's always you.
Which is ironic given what Brian does next.
Listen, I've got something to tell you. What? We've got talent track.
You joking?
We've not.
You're joking. When did you find out? Just now.
But then there's Jerry asks, "What a day! How did you get that?" I bet Dan Parry weren't happy, were he?
Crying in his beer.
But then, where is it? When is it? It's this Thursday. We better get a wriggle on. You told Les Allen we got it. He said, "Will you shut up? I've got to tell you something."
So he makes Jerry shut the office door. He just sort of like, "Don't know how to say this, Jerry, but you're dying." It's like, "No, I'm not. I got the all clear." No, you're dying." "No, I got the all clear." It's like, "No, I had to come up with something. I were under pressure, and I basically had to tell the commissioners at Talent Trek that you were dying." It's a proper fucking shitty thing to do.
So you thought that I was dying? I was desperate, Jerry. They asked me how you were. And I said, "I didn't think you'd see Christmas." And that swung it. They loved it. They said it could be a swan song.
Yeah. Clearly, Brian didn't think he was taking Jerry Sinclair to Corfu, did he?
Yeah, true.
Oh, absolutely not.
But he reiterates again. "But I'm all clear." Brian says, "Trust you to bloody ruin everything."
Oh,
"You're all clear, but we're not, are we? We're in the bloody red. Up to here with bills. We're going tits up. We're in a catch-21 situation."
Which, if you don't realise, people, it's known as a catch-22, not a 21.
But we're in a catch-21 situation, Jerry. Only you can get us out of it. How? Pretend you're dying. which follows up with again, but I'm all clear.
Oh dear.
We cut back outside, and Max is preparing the immobiliser. Just sort of like talking into this little box, just sort of like, arming the alarm, arming the immobiliser.
He starts with the difference between the Invader 2000 and other bog standard security systems that you've got the facility to record and personalise your alarm.
Which is, I swear it's an exact rip-off from sort of like the description is given on Armchair Superstore.
Yeah. It's like a word-for-word copy.
Yeah.
But it is the bit where he's got the box which is pulled out the side of my mixer, which you guys currently can't see off screen, but it's...
I've seen it.
Arming the Invader. Just flick the switch. What? Flick the switch.
Yeah, the Raven's there just sort
flicking the switch.
Flicking the switch.
I'm trying to think of something to describe it as size-wise. It's about... Oh, God.
It's almost like a bloody shoe. It's like a kid's shoebox.
Yeah.
Really much in size.
Yes. It's like a brick, I would say, actually. A house brick.
So then we see Max flicks the switch and the side lights come on. See them lighting up now. See, it is now alarmed, and then exterior force will trigger it.
So he goes to pull the handle, nothing happens.
Gently rocks it. It's new, it'll need tweaking, maybe. And Paddy said, maybe if you just bang boots it.
Boots it.
Who can do the best Max's voice here?
I can do it, possibly. Get back, you bastard! I'll break your legs!
Get back, you bastard! I'll break your legs! He just got Max.
That's my voice.
Yeah, Max going, that's me, that! And Paddy goes, now that is shit hot.
And the price you can afford.
And then he cut back to Brian's office, and the conversation that Brian and Jerry have, you can still hear in the background, like very, very faintly. Get back, you bastard! I'll break your legs. Oh, I always find it's the very little, the small little details, the little things with this show that just make it that much more memorable.
Yeah. It's like they're having a serious conversation and there's that going in the background.
You're just hearing like every couple of seconds.
But what I found amazing is when they got to like the serious point where the conversation was like, when Jerry drops a bombshell, it's like. I think Max must turn the alarm off. It goes doot, doot, and Max is like, oh. Oh.
So
it just shows all the little things that I paid attention to. You know, in this show, it's the little things. It's amazing.
So yeah, Brian's trying to convince Jerry to go along with this whole thing, and that's when Jerry drops the thing of potentially going on. What's Dougie's surname?
Dougie Hayes.
Dougie Hayes. He's already mentioned that it's just sort of like there's a possibility of him going on one of his cruises, and Brian's just sort of like, I see. When do you ship out? Next month. It's like, it's more reason for you to do it. Go out with a bang, so to speak.
He says, oh, I'm bothered, but I'm more bothered about this club, Jerry Dignan. We deserve this. We deserve the pot at the end of the rainbow. Do it, Jerry. Do this one thing. Be the hero. Go out in style. And that brings us to the end of part one. So then we jump in with part two, and we're in the Galaxy Lounge. We've got Right Said Frank even, who turn up, both two bald blokes wearing t-shirts with muscles drawn on. They have a Right Said Frank sticker, which is stick over Les Alanos.
Yeah. They're currently doing the sound checks.
So we've got Jerry and Brian backstage. What Jerry is watching on, This is what we want, Jerry. Packed out, grand final.
We should probably mention as well as sort of like pretty much bar probably like opening night, every single time there's been a said event on at the Phoenix Club, it's been bare bones really.
Yeah,
So
it's been dead.
This is like the first time since the pilot episode that there's been a packed out crowd.
Yeah, which obviously reinforces Potter's line before we're saying that basically it was they were going tits up. So
then Jerry's like looking on stage. How many keyboards do you need him? It's talent track. It's not bloody Live Aid. But then Brian again with the immortal line of "Shut up, you girl."
So it's like just before you go out on stage, to put this on. It's like a baby blue baseball cap with the Chorley FM logo.
Oh, he's got the picture.
Where is it? That one.
There you are.
Yeah, there it is.
Makes him look ill.
It's like, why am I wearing this? And Brian just goes, it'll make you look ill. Gotta look like you're dying, Brian. Gotta look like you're dying, Jerry. Like a little wink.
I can't, Brian, honest. You can, Jerry. Go on. Live the dream. Don't forget you're dying.
Yeah, he was aiming for the Royal Castle look at the end.
So then, right said Frank going to Seasons in the Sun with Jerry confused and like just randomly starts singing.
Very unenthusiastically. Just sort of like as he's performing, they sort of cut to some of the older Phoenix Club regulars, and they're sort of like
wiping tears away.
Yeah, wiping tears away. They're obviously just sort of like, oh god, Jerry's dying. And one of the right said Frank members, the one who's had sort of like the keyboard thingamabob. I don't know what you technically call it.
It's not a keytar, is it? 'Cause it's I don't know. I think it's just a full size keyboard he's picked up and just
the picture looks like it, but it's got like loudspeaker on the side as well. So whether it's like just keyboard in it. Yeah.
keyboard. And he's wearing it like it's a guitar. So like he hands Jerry a piece of paper and he unfolds it and it just has the word collapse on it. To which Jerry looks to the side of to the front of the stage and there's Brian at one of the sides just sort of like giving them the thumbs up. And then the little hand symbol is just sort of like, fall over. Thumbs up.
Fuck's sake.
So Jerry continues singing, and we have Den Perry enter with two of his cronies.
And then a couple of the regulars like put the lighters in the air, swinging it from side to side.
Brian rolls over to Den Perry, vase in hand. Opens up with, look what the cat spat out. Den Perry, have you come out to see how it's done? I never miss talent track, Brian, you know that.
That's a pretty good Den Perry.
I was going to say that's a pretty good Den Perry, to be honest with you.
It's one of the few impressions I can do well.
I think we've got Coxy's character sorted before we do this. The Phoenix Club Brawl.
Coxy's going to be Den Perry.
Yeah. White.
He's got a white suit, white tux, with a black bow tie.
Can we make Christ be young Kenny then and make him have tiger face paint on then, please?
Tiger face paint, woolly hat on.
Just tie a bottle of Swarthega or something round his.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, would Christ be up to wearing a Man City top? Because to be honest with you, we could probably give that to Anthony, to be honest with you.
Oh, he'd be up for that.
He probably would, to be fair, if you got a cheap one.
Well, seeing this is the baldy bouncer, you have to make him paddy, actually, thinking about it. You have to make Christ paddy.
So, yeah,
Give him a toupee style in the way that Paddy's hair turns out in a little bit.
I'm quite happy to be Max. I'm quite happy to be Max.
So we've got a bit of a back and forth with Brian and Dan, which is the one about it being the golden goose. And then Brian says, "It's just beginning this. You better get used to it." But then as Dan says, "You've not lost the pot of touch. I'll give you that." But then we can hear Jerry doing a full speech. And he introduces the first act.
Yeah, it's the very first act.
Yeah. It's the lassie that sings.
It's the lassie that sings, but it's also, I think, the same lassie who appeared on that Peter Kay thing.
Which I haven't seen.
Which we'll be covering at some point.
We will.
Spoilers. Spoilers.
I mentioned it last week. It's fine. They know.
Well, no.
They know.
There's yet to be an official announcement.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's gonna be a roller coaster for me, Lewis, because we both haven't seen it. So.
So Dan chimes in with "Long live the Phoenix." So then Brian goes, "Long live the Phoenix, Dennis."
They clink with glasses, and as they're about to drink, both of them go, "Bastard."
Then cuts back to Jerry. "We are welcome on stage. Act number 1. It's Michelle Coffee. Come on."
Yeah, because as Jerry's introduced it, he goes Michelle, and then the sort of like universal symbol for sort of like, phone, and then just goes coffee. I was like, oh, okay.
So yeah, she starts singing, and Right Said Frank start using keyboard sound effects to like.
It's fucking awful at the same time. It's hilarious. You can just see her sort of like breaking down in the middle of the song because I'm ruining it for her.
You can hear it in her voice because like literally it gets to sort of like the second verse and she's like, "You can reach me by."
What is it? There's it's like the line is like, "You can reach me by airplane." You just hear.
Because like the first one's sort of like you can reach me by mail train, and you just hear the sound effect of.
But it's like you what is it, the Arab man and stuff like that. It starts getting really dodgy. I shall not repeat the sound effect.
Well then, cuts to Jerry backstage, and he stood there with Rave on. He's like, I told him they'd be like this. But then we quickly jump to the church hall, which shows a poster of the Karate Kid the musical.
Oh fuck yeah!
What do they name the musical, Coxy?
It's just Karate Kid the musical, isn't it? I think.
No, there's a particular. It's named in a particular way. Let me try and find it. So as I say, just carry on. I'll try and find it.
All right. Well, we've got so we cut into the church hall. There's a small audience. The curtains open, and we see a table with a bonsai tree on it. Les walks on, and Daniel's son wheels a BMX on stage with a suitcase.
It's a fire hazard. It's a fire hazard, that bonsai tree.
We've got singe marks on it.
We've got a cardboard sign as well with California written on it. And then Les jumps into his, "My name is Mr. Miyagi from Okinawa." This is the story of Daniel's son, a young street punk from New Jersey who came to California with a suitcase full of dreams and left a karate kid. But then he goes from that voice, he even puts in like a little affliction of like a New Jersey accent whilst he's doing the Oriental accent, which completely threw me. But then we hear a mobile phone go off, he just jumps straight into normal. Can you turn your mobile phone off, please, love?
Yeah, I found the poster that was put outside. I thought it was something funny, but it was sort of like it's incredibly low key. So the poster itself is just sort of like in the top left hand corner has got a bald guy with a blue headband on, and he's got sort of like a white gi with sort of like blue sashes on. And it just says, "St. Peter's Youth Group presents the world premiere of Triumph over Adversity. lyrics and music by Les Campbell and Alan Dalton, which is we get a little preview of the lyrics and music in the next scene that comes along.
I didn't pick up on that.
So yeah, I didn't really pick up on it. I just sort of like made a point of just sort of like, oh, I thought he said something funny, when in actuality he didn't. Hey ho.
So we cut back into the Galaxy Lounge. We've got two builders on stage singing "Bridge to Your Heart."
Oh God.
There we go.
Oh yes. They've got glittery hats and glittery boots on.
Right said Frank can nip backstage with just nipping out for a fag, Jerry. And Jerry just says good.
And they go out through the fire door. And sort of like there's a little pause after they go out, and then Ray Bond sort of like is just sort of like, why is this fire door open? And then just closes it shut.
And Ray Bond's onto him.
We cut to the gents' toilet where Paddy puts his visor on and he's adjusting it and that. And he has his little box with spray main.
It's the culmination.
He's got to make sure he has that visor on to protect from permanent blindness, remember.
It's the culmination since episode 1. Just sort of like, is Paddy going bald? The thing is, he isn't, but sort of like, the constant jabs from Maxons, all their mates have sort of like got to him. So he's just sort of like, oh, I'll show them I'm not bald.
So we see him adjust the visor. He takes out the spray main. I think he starts shaking or something, doesn't he? He's in for a penny.
Yeah, it says in for a penny and then starts spraying.
So then we cut back to Right Said Frank, who knock on the door. Ray lets him in and they're carrying a hold all. And that's when Ray starts getting suspicious.
Mm.
We hear Jerry out. The singing builders finish, and we hear Jerry out a shot saying, "Well done, the singing builders. Well done, lads. The singing builders. Fantastic." Back in the church hall, Les is teaching Daniel's son. The other kids are silhouetted on stage. Alan had a small keyboard around his neck with them all singing, "Sand the deck, sand the deck."
Oh, yeah.
Clap, clap.
Paint the fence, paint the fence.
Paint the fence, clap, clap. Wax on, wax off.
Wax
on, wax off.
Now you
are Karate Kid.
And it just finishes. Audience applauds.
No, golf claps.
There's like literally sort of like the shot that they have is of sort of like the performance that's given on stage, and there's probably about sort of like 5 people in shot of the audience, and you literally just hear a.
It's like a situation where no one applauses, and then all of a sudden some person does, and everyone sort of like starts applauding, but it's all out of time. Yeah.
So then we cut back to the gents' toilet, and we just see young Mary with Paddy. It's like, Paddy, are you in there?
Before Mary comes in, she's just sort of like, Paddy's checking out his new hairdo in the mirror, and it's sort of his hair has grown exponentially.
Yeah, it's more closely measured in meters rather than centimeters.
And there was a nice little pro to what the ending goes down to. Is that Paddy chucks the can in the trash can. His hair can and his hairspray in the trash can.
That's called foreboding.
So then, he throws his spray main in the bin, checks his appearance in the mirror. He's right, come in.
Mary comes in, just sort of like, "Have you done something to your hair?" And Paddy's just sort of like, "No." It always gets like this when it grows out when he grows it out.
It's it's my hair. It grows really quick. Do you like it?
Mary keeps trying to touch it, and he keeps batting Mary's hand away.
And then we cut back on stage. We got a ventriloquist monkey act on stage.
God! Wow. Oh, this is cringeworthy.
So we had the ventriloquist. Friends may forsake me. What will you do, Daddy? I just let them all forsake me, for I still have you.
We should probably make mention that this is sort of like an elderly gentleman, like doing a ventriloquism act with a monkey.
Yeah.
Like wrapped round his. Well, he's got his arm. The monkey's got his arms wrapped round his neck, and just sort of like doing the ventriloquism stuff. It's like literally stuff that you would probably see on, from like people begging for change on sort of like a busy shopping street or whatever.
No, not in Blackpool. No, not in Blackpool. No. We get people.
I've seen it before in Southport, and I've seen like similar stuff in Liverpool city centre.
Oh no, that'd be too tame for Blackpool. We get people with tape decks dressed as Superman dancing like they're on acid. So
I distinctly remember sort of like there's one particular homeless fella in the middle of Liverpool city centre who literally has like a kids, sort of like the kids karaoke sets, just sort of like the luminescent microphones.
Yes.
He'll literally just sort of like be like that. He'll have one of them ultraviolet like suit from top to bottom, and he'll literally be on the middle of the street going. So
you mean he was cosplaying as a 90s modem?
Pretty much, yeah. That is exactly how I would describe it.
So we hear Jerry again out of view with, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, keep it going. So be prepared to be amazed by Miss Bonnie the Muff.
And it's a baton twirler. Like probably something that you'd probably see if you went to sort of like a Morris dance festival.
Yes, exactly that. Or at the front of a parade or something.
Mm-hmm.
So then we see Right Said Frank go outside with the hold all. Ray's still suspicious, so he goes to watch him. Robbing a car. So he runs back inside to tell Jerry and Kenny Sr.
Oh, God.
Quickly cut to one of them on stage having a twirl. Not literally, of course, but...
Well, in a way.
In a way she is, yeah.
In a way, but not literally.
Then back in the car park, you say, Jerry, shit, I knew this was going to happen.
Which is nice for... which will be a nice reference point for a line that Brian Potter says in a little bit.
But then, Kenny, you find the police, we'll tackle him. Kenny Sr. runs off.
What do you mean, me? And then Jerry just points
we won't. I will remember.
Yeah. As
so
Jerry's
saying tell Potter.
As Jerry's saying the line of sort of like, I'm ill, remember, he's pointing to his Chorley FM baseball cap that he's still got on his head.
I missed that little point.
And Jerry goes off, and Ray just says, right. Runs towards Right Said Frank. Bottle the Muff continues. Ray approaches Right Said Frank with, what are you up to, boys?
It's like, bloody hell. Nearly gave me a fright then. And then he literally goes to Ray on, I think you better get out of here, pal. It's like Ray's just sort of like, yeah, probably should. And he jumps on one of them, and they both sort of like waist lock him, and then just sort of like push him into Max's car. And the alarm goes off, so instead of a case of get back, you bastards, I'll break your legs.
Max disappears like a meerkat and goes, what?
Max is on the door, and he's literally jumping from step to step until he hears the alarm go off. And as you say, Paul, it's like a meerkat and just sort of like, oh, that's my alarm going off.
And just runs that round the corner in the most awkward way possible.
So then, Right Said Frank continuing on Ray. Paddy's in the toilets with Mary. And they seem to be having a bit of a...
Why don't you tell me what's wrong? And she's literally in the case of just going, oh, it's just a case of I don't see you as often as I'd like to do. And literally as she's in the middle of like doing this sentence, she just had Paddy just push her in the face as he's hearing the alarm, just sort of like, oh, hang on, that's Max's alarm going off there.
And then rushes out.
Ray's still fighting right side Frank. Max approaches, backlit by the security light. All right, Ray, you need some help. I wouldn't mind. But then Frank says, "What are you going to do, old man, on your own?" And then Paddy walks out the shadows. He's not on his own.
Max looks at Paddy. He's like, "You wearing a wig?"
What have you done to your hair? Nothing.
Nothing. I swear you're wearing a wig. I'm not wearing a wig. All the time that they're fighting, they're still committing. It's sort of like, you sure you're not wearing a wig? I'm telling you, I'm not wearing a wig.
Yeah, having this back and forth while they're having this fight with the.
Kenny Senior's pushing Brian out of the club towards the fight. Sweet baby James, call the police.
The call back to sort of like Brian stealing Jerry's line, sort of like, I knew this would happen.
It's what are those car stereos? And then Frank's like, "Tell him to get off me, Potter." I know you'd be like this. He looks at Paddy's hair. Who's that? The Fonz. Jerry runs over. I've called an interval. They're getting a bit restless. He looks at Paddy strangely. What are we going to do?
Beg.
So Frank says, "Get off." Brian looks at right side Frank and says, "Shut up, you girl." And says, gets out his mobile. He's like, "We're going to have to beg Jerry." And Les and Danielson's girlfriend Ali are on one side. Danielson is about to win. He's going to perform the crane kick. And Alan, "Sweep the leg, no mercy, finish him." Les says, "Danielson, always the eyes." His mobile goes off. He's like, "What? Hello, Leslie? It's Brian. Are you busy?" "What do you want? How do you fancy your old job back tonight?"
I mean, to be fair, they were pretty much at the end of their end of the musical, so.
But then we have come back to the Galaxy Lounge. We had Jerry. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back at very short notice. The best backing band in Clubland. It's Les Alanos." And they walk back on stage in the Karate Kid gear.
We haven't had time to change, Coxy.
Oh well, yeah, it's a little reference you should pick up on in that Peter Kay thing, and I'll say no more.
Right, okay.
Okay. But they say symbolically rip up the right said Frank sign that was on the drum.
Yes, they rip up the signs. They got Les Alanos back on the drum, and then we have Jerry. As you know, there's only one winner. But getting to the final, they're all winners.
Whoa, hang on. I'm coming.
I have the results.
I've got the results.
It's Brian Potter, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a round of applause.
Like, I have the results, but not for Talent Trek. It's like, as you know, Jerry, he's not been very well. It's been touch and go, really.
Oh no, it gets better. He also throws in the line of, "I don't know if you've noticed, I'm disabled, ladies and gentlemen." He follows it with, "I can't stand up here on the stage every night like this brave man can, singing and dancing for your entertainment."
Oh, the utter shithouse.
Oh God.
But then he does the whole bit of like, "These are the results of those tests, Jerry." And even Jerry's like, "I can't believe you're doing this."
It's like off microphone as well, so like hardly anybody else can hear. It's not over house mic. It's like, "I can't believe you're doing this."
No. So yeah, so Potter's he's waving the envelope about. I think there's a lady in the crowd. It's like, because it's a gold envelope, and she's like, "Oh, gold envelope must be Booper."
So then Brian opens the envelope and it's an all clear, ladies and gentlemen. Jerry's got an all clear. Hit it, boys. And they start playing Celebration.
It literally, Brian's there in terms of just sort of like, "Oh yeah, Jerry's in the all clear," and all of that. Like Brian keeps like reaching his arm out, sort of like, "Come on, Jerry, come on, Jerry, join in." And Jerry, like, every time Brian makes an attempt, just like literally keeps slapping his arm away.
But then there's a whole bit where Brian's singing, doesn't he? Changing the lyrics. Says, "Jerry's better. He's got the all clear."
Yeah.
But he says, "Thank you very much, thank you," with the Phoenix. And then
we fade out to an empty room.
Empty room, Holy Mary and young Mary are collecting glasses. Den Perry's in the toilets drying his hands with another man taking a piss. Turns around, does his fly.
Cracking
little club, isn't it?
Really? And Den's looking in the mirror, just sort of like, oh yeah, cracking little club. Takes a puff of his cigar and just sort of like, long live the Phoenix. He doesn't stub the cigar out, he just drops it, still burning in the trash can.
Which is full of paper towels.
Just full of paper towels, but you can't see the hairspray can.
Which obviously you see go up in quite spectacular fashion.
So we cut back to Jerry's locking the fire doors and Brian's wheeling himself along behind him. So I can't believe you did that tonight. Did what? You know. Oh, they love you, Jerry. They love you. They'll kill you to find out. They'll not find out. You don't trust me, do you? And Jerry does no. Then we see the waste bin on fire in the toilets and the disabled boy money box with smoke coming through under the door.
At this point, I sort of like I wrote in my notes that this was a little callback to episode 2, because as you know, no, not episode 2, episode 3. See, almost made the same mistake as I did when we did the initial recordings. You know, with Keith Lard, fire safety, and all that. But they never got round to getting all the checks done. So, you know, how are they supposed to know that there's a fire in the building? Well, they can't, because they haven't got it authorised by the fire inspector.
And notice still fire alarms going off as well. Always cutting corners.
But they got the all clear, though, didn't they? Off the
they got the all clear. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A couple of photos here and there. People will believe anything.
Yeah. You know what, you throw enough shit, sometimes some sticks. Oh god.
Then we're in the car park. We have Brian and Jerry. You'll be off on your cruise soon. I suppose I better start looking for a new compare. We'll miss you, Jerry. You know that, don't you? Will you miss us? I said, no.
Like, no.
What?
What?
I'm not going.
Jerry's sort of like there going, can you imagine me on a cruise? Be seasick all the time. Mind you, to be honest with you, I've missed this place too much. It's like, oh yeah.
Well, he gives you the great line as well. I threw up on a pedalo once. So that's right. You know what, Jerry? This is where you belong. This is it, me and you. This is just a start. This is just the beginning. Aye, not much, but it's our Caesar's Palace. Correct. Then you see Flames looking around towards the money box. Jerry's car's driving out, and they're pulling out the car park. Brian says, "Who won Talent Trek?"
Ventriloquist.
The ventriloquist. He didn't.
He was moving his bloody lips. He's like, Jerry go, well, I should know. I booked him. He's like, oh, for Christ's sake. And then there's a pause as the car's driving past, sort of like driving past the club. And you just hear Brian go, how much should we pay in the monkey?
Then we see Flames through the curtains.
Yeah, the ember glow from the through the window. And as I say, cut to credits. There's no after credit scenes with sort of like potential acts that are going to be going on.
And that's it, yeah. Just roll the credits. Yeah. And that's season 1 of Phoenix Nights.
In the immortal words of Gordon Ramsay, season 1 done.
Yeah.
We've done season 1, now we've got to do season 2. For those who couldn't see that, I was doing the full Gordon Ramsay way, like pretty much karate chops his hand, like we must do this and we must do this.
Season 2 of Phoenix Nights. It's groundbreaking, full of comedy, and it's absolute comedy gold. I've had a bit to drink, ladies and gentlemen, so sort of like words failed me.
It's a shame we didn't reference Gordon Ramsay on the open mic night, because we had the student who was like, "You're not funny." just so he kind of like cutting like a Gordon Ramsay line of, "Look at you, you fucking idiots."
Very true. Well, that's the end of series 1, fellas.
It is.
We made it.
Funnily enough, I was watching the credits back earlier. I only watched it like late this afternoon because I've been out all day, and I thought there was actually a bit in the credits where Brian's like Brian's like. I think I thought Brian noticed it, but I think that's in season 2.
No, it's the start. It's the first episode of season 2.
And but I thought it was in the credits of this, and I forgot it like carried over sort of thing. So
yeah, I stuck around like a Marvel movie as well. So thinking it was being after scene credits, I thought to myself, and then I realised as soon as it went back to the DVD menu screen, I was like, oh, I see. And it was like, you must have known there was a season 2 coming. So. But saying that, he could have ended it there with the Phoenix Pat Club burning down, so you never know. But, it definitely is a point where they start driving away, and you literally just hear Barry Potter go, "Jerry, club's on fire!" but yeah, I think that's the first line of season 2. So.
I'm not looking at season 2 yet till we get to it. So they're both sitting there.
Also, if you have the official DVD for season 2, the first line that opens up before the main DVD menu comes up is Brian Potter going, "Jerry, can you smell smoke?"
Yeah. Yeah, it is literally the first thing that comes up.
Mm.
But yeah, yeah, season 2, lads. I think it needs to get done.
We're through series 1. It's just thinking, what's the initial thoughts on what we've run through over the past? Well, for me, it's been 5 episodes. For you guys, it's been 6.
5 for me. I had to miss one because my computer was a complete arse.
Of course, yeah.
But yes,
longest running cast member.
Cox is the only one that's been here for the duration.
Absolutely.
I think it's fucking hilarious, to be fair. Even like now, it's probably one of the best TV shows that's come out in the 2000s, sort of in the noughties or whatever. And I think watching it back, there's like you can easily just sit there, and for me, it's like there's a reason why they don't have it on every week on Dave or whatever, because you just get bloody sick of it if you did. But watching it once in a blue moon like this. It's just you forget bits like some of the little lines and stuff, or you go back and you're like, oh, I didn't realise that, or you forget about like the fruit machine and stuff. Even though this Phoenix Nights page on Facebook's done all these little funny videos and that like.
It's like when I remember the Talent Trek episode going back, obviously what episode we just watched, and I remember Brian Potter coming out and going and singing along like, look, like Jerry's better. I remember all that lot, but when I think back to the episode and I think back to that bit that had me absolutely pissing myself last night was when that woman said, "Oh, it's a shiny envelope, it must be Booper." I never thought of that before going back and watching it. I was like, oh my god! it's like you'll remember when you think back to Phoenix Nights, you'll remember the general gist of what each episode was about. Like you'll remember the racist song in the first episode. You'll remember Keith Lard in the second episode. You'll remember the Robot Wars episode. You'll remember bits and bobs and things like that. But there's things satellite around that you might not remember and pick up because there's very subtle jokes that you'll come back to and you think you'll absolutely split your sides at these little tiny jokes. You know what I mean? It's like the running gag going all the way through these series of, Paddy being going bald. It's quite easy to forget about because it's sort of like background noise.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing. But as you watch it through, it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, there is like sort of tiny little things sprinkled throughout, well, both series really, but it's sort of like little bits here and there in each episode that's been and gone.
Yeah, I mean, there was like little tiny like interchanging storylines as we're going through, and it's like every character had a little role in it, sort of thing. Even Holy Mary, who was like the concerned mum for young Mary, you know what I mean? I mean, there was, even young Kenny had points,
Yeah.
He gets utilised more in the second series as young Kenny, but in the first,
yes.
you know what I mean? He has some.
Well, you got like Les Alanos as well, aren't you, in that? And because even with like the first episode, it's like, where's Alan? Stranraer.
Stranraer.
In Scotland.
Stranraer. In Scotland. Today. Stranraer. Bloody angina.
Get me my Zantac.
Kenny, get me Zantac.
You want to see me funeral, lads? Because it's coming.
It's just little bits. It's like there's always something there that you've not noticed before. Like, for example, with when the dartboard got stolen, Coxy only thought there was like the outline of the dartboard, but when I said to him that the dartboard had actually been drawn on with pen or crayon or something, and they were carrying on playing.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's what I mean, though. Sometimes it is literally like a blink and you'll miss it joke sort of thing. Like there's probably like still loads of stuff like the posters in the background and all that sort of thing that you probably won't notice on like your first viewing, but even 2 or 3 viewings. But like watching now, you're watching it to analyse it rather than watching it just because you want to, sort of thing. It's like you pick up on these little details.
It's the story. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I think it's also sort of it changed comedy a lot in a way for people, especially in that, like when in going back to the builder singing on stage, he's like, is that to my builder singing Acapulco?
Yeah.
And all that sort of thing. So it's like you just get like those sort of Potter mannerisms where it's like we've got catch-21 situation.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get shit shape. Yeah, things like that. Yeah. Yeah, you do miss those on your flight. You think back, if you don't watch the DVD for years and you think back to Phoenix Nights, you'd possibly think about, like say, the band in the first episode. You'd think back to, but maybe Baldy Bouncer when falling through the window. You might think about the singles night. That's a cracking one. Keith Flair, definitely. Things like that. The Wild West night. Things like that. You'll think back to the main things, but it's like there's little, like I say, there's like little subtle things that intertwine and that come into themselves. Like I would never think back going back to this episode actually we just done today. If I think back to obviously this episode, I think talent track. I think the place falling down. I think get back, you bastards, and break your legs. I don't even think in my head that actually Den Perry and Brian Potter actually interacted at all.
No.
In that episode.
Yeah.
And you only realise that when you watch it back again. It's like, oh shit, they actually had some dialogue. It's one of them. It's one of these things. It's that jam packed. It's gonna lose some. It's like filling a glass up with water. You can have it half full, but if you keep the tap on, which is what they do with the humour in this episode, it's gonna overflow. And you're gonna miss some. It's just that's the way it is.
So what about you, Lewis? What's your overall take on the series so far?
Yeah, as I say, sort of, this is the first time that I've gone back, sort of looking intensely, because you can sort of like, you can watch stuff for just sort of like the sake of watching stuff because you want to watch something enjoyable, and then there's when you're doing what I'm doing and you're sort of like researching stuff for a podcast, and it's one of those where you sort of like you pick up on some little things, or there's some things that you might not be able to pick up on. But as I say, the 5 episodes that I've done have been incredibly enjoyable, and can't wait to get to series 2. But there is a little fork in the road that we need to go down before we get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to address that one, really, don't we?
Yeah.
We do.
So, as I previously alluded to, even is the word.
Hinted at.
I very unvaguely hinted at that on the next episode we will be taking a look back even further earlier into Peter Kay's career, as we we venture into different areas of Bolton and even areas of Blackpool, apparently, which are, well, Bolton. Well,
The Bolton
as well as
It's in Lancashire, leave him alone.
well. So yeah, we've got 7 episodes to cover. That's including the pilot
Jeez.
of a little-known comedy that came out in 1999 called That Peter Kay Thing.
And ironically, the pilot episode is based on based around Brian Potter's old club called the Neptune Club.
Yeah, if I remember correctly.
Is that the pilot? I don't think it was I thought there was a different one. The pilot.
I'm pretty sure it's the pilot episode because I remember after we recorded the last Phoenix Nights episode 2 weeks ago when you were talking about that Peter Kay thing, I went and looked it up, and I distinctly remember.
Ah, no, you're wrong.
Oh, no.
The In the Club is episode 1. There is an actual pilot called The Services.
Yes, I seem to remember you saying.
On the DVD. If you can get it might be on available online somewhere. But there is a pilot called where it's like based at Chorley Services.
Yes.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
Fact, I'm not going to endorse which website they are because I really would. Honestly, you're missing out on an experience if you don't get the DVDs because some of the extras on there are absolute gold. You know what I mean? And yes, you can watch the episodes by themselves on certain streaming websites, but you need to get the DVDs. I mean, the tuppence. I mean, I was looking on a certain website called Music Magpie, and for example, the Max and Paddy fitness DVD you can get for all of £3 delivered. So you can get them for peanuts, absolute peanuts. It's worth doing. Like I say, 10 minutes of armchair superstore. You know what I mean? 10 minutes of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just go get the DVDs. Don't be lazy. Just stream it, buy them.
Yeah, you do miss out on some brilliant outtakes and deleted scenes and times and stuff. Even the commentary sometimes was hilarious because it's just them like ripping on each other.
Absolutely, I need to watch it with the commentary. Actually, that might be one of my things to do just for pleasure. It's not often I watch stuff with commentary. The last thing I watched with commentary on was the original Resident Evil movie. So with Mila Jovovich pointing out a twat shot. But yeah, I wish I'll do that. But there's also the Easter eggs, which I accidentally discovered while messing around with the DVDs yesterday on season 2. So, which I will talk to you after the recording, because I do not want to spoil it. So, for our listening audience. So.
Well, yeah. So if you join us next time, this probably will be on its own separate feed after this episode goes live.
Yeah.
So if you want to continue listening, just jump over to the new feed, unsubscribe and subscribe. Well, don't unsubscribe, but subscribe to the Phoenix Pod feed. As all future episodes will be on there, including the aptly titled That Peter Kay Thing, as we have a look at The Services.
Hey! If we can get hold of it.
Oh, it's. I've literally. I had a look just then, and it is available online.
Awesome, that'll do for me.
So yes, I think. Paulie might as well give yourself some plugs.
Alright, you can find me on the UKRAD live podcast. We're on all the major podcasts like streaming services out there, such as Spotify, iTunes, iMusic, Apple Music, whatever it's called nowadays. It's Podbean, Stitcher, you name it, we're on there. You can find us on Twitter at UKRAD Podcast. We're on Facebook as well. We're also on YouTube, so we've got like a back catalogue there of all our early stuff. You can also find my alter ego Steve on Twitter at SteveAOTGTMP, who's an absolute bastard on a podcast called Gunpowder, Treason, No Plot. You can find them at Treason No.
And am I okay to do a tiny little plug before we go?
Go for it.
Cracking. Well, myself and another member of our little podcast community did a recording this past Saturday. We're recording this on a Wednesday, so about 5 days ago. If you are familiar with the work that I did for the old WrestleBox podcast, we did a collaboration with Coxy's own wrestling podcast known as The Lost Art of Wrestling, and we had a look at one of the free pay-per-view events that have been made public to the general public, which was the G1 Supercard in Madison Square Garden. That's sort of around about this time last year, which will be dropping. Did you say it'd be dropping Monday on the 1st?
This coming Monday, yeah, 1st of June.
On the 1st of June, so be sure to have a look at that. It's a recording that lasted just under 3 hours. So, as I say, if you're a wrestling consortium, then you might want to check that out on the 1st of June. As I say, a recording went just under 3 hours, and we had a ball recording it, and hopefully it will be quite a nice little podcast that will venture into some future shows. As you can see, I'm not very good at plugging.
You did a fatty sound job. You did better than what I did with. Go.
Plug the show.
Twitter handle.
And of course you find
Facebook.
Yes, you can find us on Facebook. You can find the Lost Art Podcasting on Facebook. We're on Instagram at Lost Art Podcasting, Twitter at Lost Art Podcast. You can find us on all good podcast providers, including the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, and all other good ones. Yeah, so I don't really know how to finish it. There was no audition, was there? So
no, there is no next. It's just we could go. Jerry, you smell smoke?